Hello everybody, my name is Chikirza, and welcome to another art journal video. If you're new here, then welcome to my channel. Today, I wanted to create a page to inspire those of you that feel that you can't draw to go ahead and get creative. You say you can't even draw a circle? No problem. Grab something round that you can either trace the inside or the outside of, and let's get started. As for me, I'm going to be using this circle template and a black gel pen to create a variety of circle sizes on my paper. I know that I'm going to be using watercolor on this page, so I made sure to test this pen before I started to see if it was waterproof once it was dry. I don't have a specific pattern in mind here, I just want to get some circles on the page, something that I can paint in with watercolor. So just randomly putting circles on the page, sort of in a design, not really. I started off with bigger circles in the center and then they slowly trailed out to smaller circles. And now I want to block in the page with a little bit more because I'm like, well, I don't think I want to use just the circles. I think I want a little bit more color on the page. And let's give myself a couple more circles to color in as well. Now let's block in that bottom section. And that'll give me a nice, good section of color in the center of the page to add color to as well. I'm going to be using these PRANG Washable watercolors. And I apologize for the glare here. I'll just move that paint palette over a little bit to get rid of the glare. Now that my space is set up, I'm also going to be using the number 6 round PRANG watercolor brush that came with this watercolor set. I have a lot of purple left over from a previous painting I did. I think it was the caterpillar painting that I did. So I'm going to use that. That plate's been sitting on my desk for a couple of weeks with the paint left over on it. So because I'm not using watercolor paper, I'm using this Canson mixed media paper, and there's no preparation done on the paper. This is just done on the raw paper. This paper will absorb the color and the water fairly quickly. So if you want to do any kind of blending with, like using this paper like I am, then you'll probably have to work a little faster than you would if you were using watercolor paper where your surface might stay wetter for longer. When I'm using the watercolor, I also try to avoid using new colors in sections that are beside the wet paint, because otherwise the paint will bleed into each other. Now, if that's the effect I want to go for, like when I dripped the blue paint into the purple, then go for it. But if you don't want your colors mixing, then let it dry or either dry it before doing the paint in the section right next to it. Dabbing a little bit more blue color into the purple again, really liking it. But then I added a little bit more blue than I wanted. So I thought, well, let's just twist the page a little bit and let the colors mingle. And then that gave me an idea. Why don't I do the top part of the page, which is actually the left side of the page, and now on the screen is the bottom part, but do some sort of a gradient effect that looks like water swooshing across the page and then goes off into dots. And I really liked the effect. I had no plan to do that, but it just kind of turned out. So again, because my page is wet in the middle, I'm avoiding adding any colors to that because I don't want the colors to run into each other. And just working on some of the circles. Again, because I'm not using watercolor paper, this paper is warping on me. I personally don't care. I am trying to get over being so perfectionist and everything has to be perfect. art doesn't have to be perfect. Art can be messy. Art can be fun. Art can be therapeutic. Art can be whatever you want it to be. If you want it to be perfect, then go for it. I'm just having fun here, putting some color on a page and just enjoying the whole process. However, I am still fairly impatient, so rather than letting it air dry, I grab my hairdryer. Of course, that pushes the paint and the water around and gives me some unexpected effects, which can sometimes turn out to be actually really kind of cool. But for these aqua colored circles, I wanted the color to be very almost solid looking. So now that the color on the middle part of my page is dry, I'm going ahead and adding some more color to some more of the circles. Instead of blotching blue into the purple, I tried blotching purple into the blue color. Now I feel like I've got a lot of kind of like blues and purples. I wanted to add a little bit more color, so let's go with the red. But this red is kind of more like an orange, so I'm adding some more color and just deepening it. Mix up some yellow, blotch that in. Just lightly dabbing it in. And again, because the paper is warping, the water is pooling in places that wouldn't necessarily expect it to. So I grabbed my hairdryer and I had so much water on that circle that it just literally blew the paint out into the rest of the page. No problem, just blot it up and be a little more careful with it. I didn't like the way I had a hard line on that one circle there when I dried it, so I just added some water to it and reactivated the paint and blended it out a little bit more again. Felt like I wanted some more red and yellow circles there, and I had 2 more that I still had to color in, so perfect. Dab some more yellow on this one. Ooh, I've got quite a bit of red on there. So I dabbed some of it off because the yellow was not pigmented enough to override that red. And give it another quick dry. You can see the colors kind of moving around because they're still wet. And that's fine. As it's still a little bit damp, I just take my wet brush and smear some of the paint around a little bit. Give it a little bit better of a gradient effect. Fixing up that other small circle. And give it another quick dry. Now that everything's nice and dry, I've got my black Sharpie and my black gel point or my black gel pen that I used to make the circles in the first place. And I'm using the black Sharpie just to intensify that black line around the circles and just around the shapes, period. I had no plan. All I knew is I wanted to doodle, and I wanted circles, and I wanted to play with watercolor. But I do love my black. Okay, now let's go in with the black gel pen. It's a finer line. And for me, yes, I'd like the lines to be perfect. And if you want your lines to be perfect if you're doing this, then go slower. Be more careful. I was just, I don't know, just trying to be carefree. Make something cool looking, but not stress over it being perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes the best pages that you can make are the ones that not necessarily look the best because they're perfect. It's the ones that you had the most fun doing. the ones that you had the best experience with. And if you're not at that point in your art journey, or if you are still really stuck on things being perfect, and I have those days too, then you do what makes you happy. Go slower. Make the lines perfect. Sometimes I'm outlining the shape. Sometimes I'm going off and making the line go in a different direction, creating my own path. Because I felt like I wanted a little bit more black on that page, because I do love putting black on paper. I don't know what it is. I have this thing with, it's not even that I like dark colors, because I'm not into like dark colors like burgundy and navy blue and stuff like that. I love black. The heaviness, the weight of it, I don't know. It's different. It's dark, but it's black. I don't even know how to explain it. So again, just filling in some of the inside gaps, trying to add a little bit more weight to the page, a little more interest. Because if I did it all just in this one size pen line, for me personally, although it would probably still look okay to some people, for me personally, I wanted to add more weight. I tend to, when I do doodles, like to have some spaces filled in, some spaces with lighter or like finer lines, some with heavier lines. That was another instance where instead of just following the lines all the way around, I had created another little pocket. And here again, another little kind of pocket that veered off. Now the page looks okay like this. However, for me, I love to doodle. And sometimes I don't know when to stop. So I wanted to add even more heaviness in there, get some more black in there. So that's exactly what I did. I just filled in some of the sections with black. And I personally really liked the way the added boldness added to the page. You'll notice that I'm not necessarily filling in all of like the in-between lines, like all of the sections. Sometimes I'm doing just part of a section. Sometimes I'm doing the entire section. This part here, I was debating just leaving that one, but I felt like this part of the page needed a little bit more heaviness, some more black. And here, I definitely did not do a perfect shape. Look how wonky that line is. But I'm okay with it. I think you'd only really notice it if you pointed it out or if you were really looking at the picture. But I think most people just kind of look at it as a general. And if you don't point out the flaws, I don't think a lot of people would really notice. You know it's there because you've done it, like what I did. But in general, I don't think a lot of other people really look for that. So there we have it. The page is done. I really liked it. I had fun. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.